When you're younger, life is a checklist. Finish school, get the job, raise the family, pay the bills, stay busy, stay useful, stay ahead. But what happens when the checklist runs out? No one tells you that after 65, the pace changes or that it should. For decades, you rushed, juggled, and survived. Now you have something rare: time. And with it comes a question most people avoid asking. What does it really mean to live well, not just longer, but better? This video isn't about slowing down for the sake of slowing down. It's about reclaiming something you didn't know you lost: peace, presence, and permission. Permission to pause, to reflect, to say no, to finally ask yourself, what do I want? We'll walk through 8 slower habits that aren't signs of decline, they're signs of wisdom. And by the end, you might just realize the version of you who slows down is the version who finally understands what it means to live fully. Stay with me, the truth in habit number 4 might surprise you. 1. Stop apologizing for who you are. Take Helen, 68. For most of her life, she was the peacemaker, the one who smoothed over tension at family dinners, who said yes when she meant no, who smiled even when her heart disagreed. When her daughter chose to move across the country, Helen simply said, "Whatever makes you happy." But inside, she felt unseen, compressed, drifting. Then one day, after declining yet another lunch she wasn't up for, Helen didn't say, "I'm sorry." She said, "No, thank you," softly, but without apology. That moment felt different. She listened and knew she was listening. She spoke and knew she was speaking. No rush to respond, no urge to soften the truth. Just awareness, balance, respect for herself. Psychologists call this self-coherence, when your inner world matches your outer expression. It reduces internal stress, builds emotional safety, and reclaims agency. Because the more we abandon ourselves for approval, the lonelier we become, even in a room full of love. Helen began replacing apology with something else: gratitude, grace, stillness. She no longer asked others to change. She let go of expectations because, as she often said, to expect someone else to make me happy is a form of suffering. But to change myself, that's the beginning of peace. And something unexpected happened. Her daughter noticed. The woman who once apologized for everything now radiated quiet confidence. And slowly, the daughter started calling more, asking questions, sharing things. A connection that once felt polite became genuine. Sometimes becoming more you is what invites others back to your heart. So ask yourself, when was the last time you said something without apology and watched your world soften, not shatter? That might be the moment you stopped shrinking and started shining. 2. Let go of arguments. Choose peace. If you've lived long enough, you'll know this strange truth. It's easier to forgive a stranger than to forgive someone you love. Maybe because with strangers we don't expect as much. But with family, with children, spouses, siblings, we carry years of silent disappointments. Old arguments that never really ended. Words we wish they hadn't said, or that we regret saying ourselves. And so, we argue not just to prove we're right, but to say, "You hurt me, and I need you to know." But what if we looked at those moments differently? In Eastern philosophy, there's a concept called cause-condition effect. Think of it like this. A single apple seed, the cause, holds the potential for fruit. But without the right condition, the right weather, soil, time, it cannot sprout. No tree, no apple, no harvest. Human connection is no different. You might be born with love, but without the conditions of patience, understanding, and forgiveness, love will not bear fruit. So ask yourself, if you had been born alone without the presence of another, who would you become? What are we without relationship? This is what Walter realized. After decades of debating, of holding grudges with his brother, correcting his wife mid-sentence, lecturing his adult children, he sat with one silent truth. He had been defending his pride and starving his relationships. And one day, he just let go. He didn't forgive out of weakness. He forgave out of clarity. I'd rather have peace than a perfect memory. Because the apple doesn't grow to be right. It grows to be shared. So ask yourself, is it time to stop asking others to be perfect and start tending to the conditions that make love possible? Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it does change the soil where your peace can finally grow. Walter didn't just stop correcting others. He started observing something deeper. He noticed that the things that irritated him most, the carelessness, the dismissiveness, the way people spoke over one another, were things he too had once done. And suddenly, the anger softened. Because the world, he realized, wasn't attacking him, it was reflecting him. In that moment, Walter understood. There's no absolute right or wrong, only experiences that invite us to grow. No one made him react. No one made him defensive. He had chosen it unconsciously, yes, but still chosen. So he began choosing differently. Instead of assuming what someone meant, he started asking, "What do you need from me right now?" Instead of jumping to defend, he listened, not to fix, not to win, just to understand. Because now he saw, you can't give someone peace if you don't have it in yourself. And when you're full, when you accept yourself, forgive yourself, you stop asking others to fill your gaps. You show up not with hunger, but with wholeness. 3. Stop trying to fix everyone. Be a lighthouse, not a lifeboat. Many older adults look back and say this with quiet pride and quiet exhaustion. I was the one everyone came to. The problem solver, the advice giver, the emotional anchor. You spent years holding others up, even when your own feet were tired. But eventually something starts to feel off. You begin to wonder, if I'm always saving everyone else, who's saving me? That was Margaret's question at 70. She had 3 adult children, all wonderful, but all struggling in their own ways. One called with financial stress, one called with heartbreak, one just needed someone to unload on, and Margaret, being who she'd always been, answered every call, every time, until one day, her body answered first. She collapsed, not from illness, but from exhaustion. Her doctor found nothing wrong physically, but her therapist saw it clearly. You're not their lifeboat, Margaret. You're their lighthouse. At first, she didn't understand, but then it clicked. Lifeboats jump in, lighthouses shine from shore, lifeboats exhaust, lighthouses endure. Psychologists call this compassion fatigue, when caring becomes draining because you're carrying what's not yours to fix. So Margaret began a shift. She stopped rushing to solve. She started asking, do you want advice, or do you just need to be heard? She didn't walk away. She stood with them, but not for them. And in that space, something else became clear. She realized that much of what she had tried to fix was never the problem, because people don't act out randomly. Every behavior is the final stop in a chain with thought, and deeper still, perception. And perception? It's shaped by awareness, by belief, by identity. According to research from Harvard Medical School, 2018, up to 95% of our daily behavior is unconscious, driven by mental patterns etched over decades. So when you constantly correct someone's behavior, you're not helping. You're reinforcing the very loop they're stuck in. The more you say, you always mess this up, the more they believe, I always mess up. That's how behavior stays stuck. So Margaret did something radical. She stopped fixing and started seeing. Instead of pointing out flaws, she practiced what we at Timeless Wisdom call the gentle art of repeating what uplifts you. To consciously recall and repeat what someone has done that made you feel safe, supported, or seen with gratitude, sincerity, and zero expectation. She began saying things like, you were so thoughtful last week when you checked on me. I really admire how calm you stayed today. Not to manipulate, not to flatter, but to mirror what was already good and help them see it in themselves. Because here's the truth. What you repeat with love grows, and what you appreciate gets remembered. So here's a gentle challenge. Instead of trying to fix someone this week, try practicing speaking gratitude, because nothing is guaranteed to stay. Shine light on something beautiful they already are. Then come back here and share what changed. Your story might inspire someone to stop drowning and start shining. Because here's the truth. What you repeat with love grows, and what you appreciate gets remembered. And remember this, words carry energy. Just like a warm lamp in a dark room, your voice can either dim someone's light or help them see the best parts of themselves again. So speak kindly, shine a gentle light, and maybe, just maybe, your words will become the moment someone chooses to rise. 4. Let go of perfection. Embrace your journey. Perfection is a myth we spend decades chasing, and an illusion we waste years regretting. In your 30s and 40s, perfection sounds like success. In your 50s, it starts to sound like pressure. But after 65, it often becomes the voice that whispers, you should have done more, you should have been better. That voice followed Carl for years. At 74, he had built a life most would admire: a stable career, a loyal marriage, children who loved him. But late at night, He still played the old tapes. I should have been more present with my kids. I should have taken better care of my health. Why did I waste so much time on things that didn't matter? One evening, after a long walk alone, he stopped not in body, but in thought. He stood under the dim porch light and whispered, "I did the best I could with what I knew then." And something softened. Psychologists call this self-compassion reappraisal. It means looking at your past not with judgment, but with gentleness. Not through the lens of who you are now, but with empathy for the person you were then. Carl began to see his regrets not as mistakes, but as markers. Every wrong turn gave him something, a lesson, a depth, a softness. And slowly, he stopped clinging to what could have been and started honoring what was. Because here's what no one tells you. Your life was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be real. So Carl made a decision. He started journaling not about regrets, but about milestones he once overlooked. He wrote about the first time he forgave someone, the time he stayed in a room and listened without trying to fix, the day he stopped comparing himself to his brother. He called it "My Perfectly Imperfect Path." And over time, the shame faded. In its place came something lighter, something closer to peace. So here's your invitation. What if you stopped auditing your life and started appreciating the story only you could have lived? You were never meant to get it all right. You were meant to grow, to fall, to rise, to remember. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes you beautiful. Because here's the deeper truth. Perfection doesn't exist. If it did, life would freeze, and anything that freezes must eventually die. In nature, perfection halts evolution. When a tree stops reaching, it stops growing. When we believe we've arrived, we lose curiosity, humility, and the very force that makes us feel alive. True vitality lies in motion, not in flawlessness. So what if, instead of chasing perfection, you simply placed your attention on what is already good? Start there. Gratitude is a gateway. When you hold your current life with reverence, not resentment, you unlock new perspectives. Suddenly, the crooked paths look wiser. The missed opportunities feel protective. And your story becomes something worth honoring. So now, we ask you, should we keep striving for perfection, or is it time to redefine what enough looks like? Drop your reflections in the comments. Your insight might just be the release someone else has been waiting for. 5. Simplify what you carry. We spend a lifetime accumulating. Clothes for occasions that never came, gadgets we forgot we owned, papers from jobs long retired, memories tucked in boxes we never open but never throw away. At first, it feels like comfort, like proof we've lived. But slowly, quietly, it starts to feel like weight. That was Olivia's story. At 76, she lived in the same home for over 40 years. Her hallway closet still held her daughter's prom dress. Her garage shelves of tools her late husband once used, and her kitchen, 4 different coffee makers. "I might need it one day," she always said. Until one morning, she opened a drawer and had to sit down. Not from pain, but from the flood of stories. Things she hadn't touched in decades suddenly whispered, "Do you still need me? Or am I just a version of who you used to be?" That day, she made a quiet vow to travel lighter, not just in space, but in spirit. Psychologists call this symbolic decluttering. It's the idea that by letting go of objects, we clear room for new identity, not just shelves, but self. Olivia began with one small box, a scarf, a photo, a mug with a chip. She thanked each item and let it go. Not because it had no value, but because its value had already been given. And something remarkable happened. Her home began to breathe. So did her mind. Because here's the gentle paradox. The more you let go, the more space you have for what truly matters. And letting go doesn't mean losing. It means honoring, then releasing. So ask yourself, what are you still holding that's no longer holding you? Is it time to open that drawer? Not to tidy, but to remember, bless, and begin again. Because here's the gentle paradox. The more you let go, the more space you have for what truly matters. And letting go doesn't mean losing. It means honoring, then releasing. And let's be honest, the fewer things you own, the fewer decisions you have to make. No more standing in front of 5 similar coats wondering which one still zips. No more digging through kitchen drawers to find that one peeler that never worked anyway. Simplifying isn't just spiritual, it's practical. And let's be real, it's way less exhausting. So ask yourself, what are you still holding that's no longer holding you? Maybe it's time to open that drawer, not just to tidy, but to laugh, remember, bless, and begin again. 6. Stop trying to please everyone. Live authentically without permission. If you're over 65, chances are you've said this to yourself at least once. I've spent my whole life trying to keep everyone happy. You said yes, even when your energy said no. You smiled to avoid tension. You helped not because you could, but because you thought you should. For decades, it seemed like the kind thing to do. But here's what no one tells you. People-pleasing isn't love. It's self-abandonment, dressed as politeness. That's what Marjorie realized at 69. She had always been the nice one, the one who brought the pie, remembered birthdays, showed up for everyone. But deep beneath her smile was a quiet question. When do I get to matter to me? So one day, when another family gathering rolled around, she paused. Instead of replying out of habit, she took a breath, smiled gently, and said, "Thank you so much for thinking of me. I'd love to be there, but I've been needing some quiet time. I'm going to stay in and recharge a little." No long explanation, no guilt, just warmth and truth spoken with care. And something surprising happened. Nobody took offense. Some even said, "Good for you." No one fainted. No dramatic Facebook posts. Just peace. That evening, as Marjorie made tea and watched the light soften across her porch, she felt something rare. Not the buzz of being needed, but the relief of finally choosing herself. It wasn't rebellion, it was renewal. Psychologists call this boundary recovery, the process of rebuilding the space between who you are and who you felt pressured to be. But this doesn't mean we stop helping others. Helping is beautiful. It creates connection, it builds trust, but only when it flows from wholeness, not from guilt or exhaustion. So Marjorie began to set new ground rules with kindness. Instead of saying yes by default, she'd say, "I'd love to help, but only after 4 p.m. tomorrow. Right now, I'm attending to something important to me." And you know what? People responded better than she imagined. Because when you set limits with warmth and clarity, even a no feels like a yes to mutual respect. And let's be honest, the older we get, the more we realize most people aren't actually expecting us to say yes. They just want honesty. That doesn't feel like rejection. So here's your gentle takeaway. Help others, but love yourself first. Speak honestly, not from fear, but from self-respect. Set boundaries, not to push people away, but to keep yourself whole. And next time you feel that automatic yes rising, pause. Ask yourself, is this kindness or is this conditioning? Then choose with love for both of you. And now a question just for you. What's one thing you said no to that helped you feel more you? Share your story in the comments. You might just help someone else take their first breath of freedom. 7. Savor the moments you used to rush. There's a strange irony about life. The moments we used to rush through are the very moments we now long to relive. Think back. How many cups of coffee did you drink on the go without tasting? How many sunsets slipped past your window while you were finishing one more chore? How many conversations were cut short because you didn't have time? We didn't know back then that time wasn't just something to manage, it was something to feel. That's what Clarence, 75, realized after retiring. He had spent 4 decades chasing deadlines, meetings, travel, obligations, and suddenly there were none. At first it felt like freedom. Then strangely it felt like grief. He missed what he never paused to see. So he started doing something new. Each morning he made coffee and sat by the window. No phone, no radio, no agenda, just the soft click of the kettle, the golden light warming the kitchen tile. The quiet joy of breathing in and out and realizing this is what I was rushing toward all those years. Psychologists call this attentional anchoring, training your focus to rest on the now so your nervous system can finally relax. Clarence found that the more he slowed down, the more he actually felt alive. And strangely, the small stuff, the bird outside, the warmth of a blanket, the smile of a passing neighbor, began to feel like everything. So here's a gentle invitation. What's one small ritual you used to rush that you could return to slowly? It could be watering your plants, writing by hand, listening, really listening to someone you love. Not to be productive, not to be efficient, just to be present. Because the richest parts of life were never loud, they were never urgent. They were the ones that waited quietly for you to finally arrive. So here's a gentle invitation. What's one small ritual you used to rush that you could return to slowly. It could be watering your plants, writing by hand, really listening to someone you love, not to be productive, not to be efficient, just to be present, because the richest parts of life were never loud, they were never urgent, they were the ones that waited quietly for you to finally arrive. And if you'd like to deepen that presence, here's something we quietly recommend. Try searching for a Vipassana meditation course. It's a silent retreat practiced by thousands around the world, including us here at Timeless Wisdom. No phones, no talking, just breath, just being. After 10 days of silence, we didn't come out enlightened, but we did come out aware of how much beauty we had been missing. You don't have to go on a retreat to slow down, but if you're curious, search it, explore it. Maybe it's time to meet the part of you that never rushed to begin with. 8. Let go of worrying about the future. There's a secret most people learn late in life. Worrying doesn't protect you. It only robs today of its peace. But try telling that to your mind at 3 a.m. You lie awake thinking, what if my health declines? What if I run out of money? What if I become a burden to the people I love? These thoughts aren't irrational, they're human. But here's the truth. No amount of worry has ever stopped life from unfolding. What it does stop is your ability to enjoy what's real right now. That's what Harold, 78, discovered. He used to lie awake every night, running scenarios in his head. He tried budgeting, insurances, even sleeping pills. But peace didn't come, because peace doesn't live in control. It lives in acceptance. Then, one morning, he walked outside, barefoot on the dewy grass, and whispered, whatever comes, I'll meet it when it comes. It wasn't defeat, it was surrender, the kind that makes you stronger. Psychologists call this cognitive reframing. It's the mental shift from anticipating danger to trusting your own resilience. And you have resilience. How do we know? Because you've already survived more than you give yourself credit for. Heartbreak, disappointment, loss. Yet here you are, breathing, learning, softening. So instead of fearing the future, what if you started prep? Not with tension, but with trust. Trust in your experience, trust in the people who love you, and trust that, even in uncertainty, life has a way of unfolding exactly as it should. So here's our final invitation. Tonight, before you go to bed, place your hand on your heart. Take one slow breath and say, I don't know what tomorrow brings, but today I choose peace. Then rest. Not because everything is certain, but because you are learning to live fully even in the unknown. And if you allow yourself to look deeper beyond just the physical, beyond just this life, ask yourself, if this body, this life were to end tomorrow, where would you go? And what would you leave behind? It's not a question of fear, it's a question of meaning. Because when you truly understand the impermanence of life, you begin to cherish what's here. You begin to treat each moment as sacred. From a spiritual lens, this life is a seed. What you plant now becomes the field you walk in next. So what kind of seeds are you sowing? Let them be gratitude, kindness, stillness, joy in the little things. Take care of this body, it's your home. Speak to it gently, feed it with love, move it with respect, protect it from toxic noise, toxic food, toxic minds. Because when you care for your body, you nourish your mind. And when your mind is light, your spirit can rise. So tonight, if fear tries to visit, smile and say thank you, but not now. Right now, I choose peace. And trust what you nurture now in thought, in feeling, in action, is the life you'll inherit next. Live like this life matters, because it does. Maybe the greatest gift of aging is that you finally get to stop chasing who you're supposed to be and start remembering who you've always been. Slower, softer, more aware, more you. These 8 habits weren't rules, they were invitations to come home to your own pace, to your own peace, to a life that isn't about how much you do, but how deeply you feel. So today, maybe just start with one thing. Say no with love. Drink your tea a little slower. Touch your heart before bed and whisper, thank you. Because when you change how you live, you change what you leave behind. And now we'd love to hear from you. Which part of today's video resonated most with you? Have you already let go of something that brought you peace? Or is there one small step you feel ready to take this week? Drop your story in the comments, not just for us, but for everyone else walking this path too. And if there's someone you love who's entering this season of life, send this video their way. You never know which moment might become their moment of clarity. Until next time, Stay gentle, stay wise, and keep walking each day with just a little more presence. From all of us at Timeless Wisdom, thank you for being here.